Alright everyone, so for this project we are going to actually begin to start to build the first part that we are going to be needing for our cell phone stand that we'll be creating as our major project that is coming up. And so we can take a look at this blueprint that we have here. You can find this blueprint on Schoology, and you are going to follow along with this video and the blueprint that we have out in front of us to create and complete this design. So we're going to go ahead and start out in Inventor here, and what we need to do is we need to start a millimeter part. So I'm going to go click on the little page above New, and then I'm going to click on the drop down next to ENUS and then click metric, and then from there I'm going to click on the standard MMIPT or standard millimeter part, and I'll go ahead and click create. Once I've clicked create, I can go ahead and click on start 2D sketch, and I'm going to be sketching my front view first. So I'm going to select the XY plane, and I'll go ahead and select my line tool. And for this part, I'm going to lock onto the origin, and I'm going to start to draw off to the left. And I'm going to point in this direction here and type in a 20 and hit enter. And then for this next one, we're going to do something new that you haven't really done before. So I'm going to go ahead and first type in 25, but I'm not going to hit enter. This time I'm going to hit tab. And when I hit tab, what you'll notice is it actually highlights the degrees, and that is going to allow me to type in how far I want it to go in one direction or the other. And I'm going to type in 115 degrees, and that's going to snap that so that the back of where my cell phone is going to rest is at a nice viewing angle. And now I need to go ahead and click on my zoom all button, and I'm going to go ahead and I want to create a line that's perpendicular to the last line that we just created. And what you can see on my screen right now is there's a little symbol right next to where it says 90 degrees that means perpendicular. And if I have that symbol on my screen, now I can go ahead and type in 2.5. And then moving on down here, this is where things might get a little bit different. We're first going to go ahead and come all the way down, and I'm just going to click right about here. But when I click, I also want to make sure once again that that little perpendicular symbol is showing up somewhere on my screen. So I'll go ahead and click, and now I'm going to go ahead and go over to the right 15. So I want to type in a 15 and hit enter. And this is the point where I need to go ahead and make some adjustments. And so I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard to make sure that I no longer have the line tool selected. And then I'm going to select the dimension tool, and I'm going to dimension this line right here so that it's at the right height. So I'm going to click on that purple line, the one that's turning green right now, and then I'm going to click on my bottom line that we created on our first line, and we're going to go ahead and create this dimension from the bottom up to the top here, and this is also going to be 2.5. If you are looking at our drawing here, you'll notice that it says 2.5 TYP. TYP stands for typical, and that means that this piece, and this piece are all going to be 2.5. So that's where I got that information from. And now we can go ahead and go back to Inventor, and I'll go ahead and say, yes, I do want that to be 2.5. All right, and now that I've done that, I can go ahead and reselect my line tool, and I'm going to attach back where I left off. And that's going to be right where my green dot is right now. So I'll go ahead and click. And then from here, what you'll notice is that I need to go up 12.5. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 12.5 first. And once again, I'm going to hit tab and not enter. And that's going to allow me to now enter in the angle. And if you take a look at our sheet, you'll notice that it says the angle is supposed to be 65 degrees. But in Inventor right now, if I'm open this up, right now, if I tilt sort of in that direction, it says 115 degrees. And what you have to pay close attention to is where those little dotted lines are at and which angle you're actually measuring. And so there's a couple ways that you could do this. You could type in 115 and then hit enter, and that would create the piece that we want. Or if I go back, I could also go ahead and put in a line that is 12.5, and then instead of hitting tab and putting in a certain degrees, I could just hit enter, and now I can use my dimension tool. I'll click on dimension, and then I can click on the line that's at an angle, and I can click on the bottom line here, and then I can type in 65. Either way that you do it will still end up with the same result, but both of those methods will work so that you can get a line that is at 65 degrees from the bottom piece right here. Next, I'm going to click my line tool again if I unselected it. If you didn't unselect it, then you probably didn't need to do that. And I'm going to reattach to the end where I finished off again. And once again, I'm going to create a line here that I want to be perpendicular to my last line. And so I'm looking for that symbol to show up. I'm not seeing it, but I think that we are perpendicular. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 2.5 and hit enter. And one way I can double check to make sure that this is perpendicular is I actually have this little button up here that says perpendicular constraint. I can click on that. I'll click right here, and I'll click right here. And even though it didn't want to say that it was perpendicular, it looks like it probably was perpendicular, but now I told it absolutely definitely for sure that this line and this line are perpendicular. All right, let's go ahead and finish out this shape. I'm going to go ahead and click on the line tool again and reattach, and then this one's going to be a little bit funky too. This might be kind of new for some of us, but I want my line to be perpendicular once again, and then for some reason, I don't know why, but it's not showing me that perpendicular anymore. But I'm going to go ahead and go down until I'm on this line right here, and I'm perpendicular to my last line, and I'm going to click. Now, I'm not quite done yet. You can tell I'm not at the origin, and I want to be all the way at the origin. So I'm going to go ahead and click at the origin, and you can tell you closed the loop because it disconnected from the line tool again. All right, and let's go ahead and fix this last little piece right here. I'm not 100% sure why it's not having the perpendicular constraint show up, but I'm going to go ahead and click on that perpendicular constraint tool again. And I'm going to click on the line that we created right here. And I'm going to click on the line right here. And clicking on those two, you can see nothing on my page moved, but it did finally decide, okay, yes, it is perpendicular. And so everything is now black, and at the bottom it says fully constrained. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish Sketch next, and you can go ahead and click the Home button to zoom back out, and you can see I do have everything created. Now all I've got to do is click on Extrude, and it should extrude for me. Next, I'm going to go ahead and change distance A from 10 millimeters to 8 millimeters. It's just going to shrink it down just a little bit. And I'm going to click OK. All right, so that is the first part of this. The next part is we need to start another 2D sketch, and this time we are going to select the flat surface on the bottom of this little notch that's going to hold our phone, and it's going to rotate us into our top view here. And then we can go ahead and start by creating a circle on somewhere in this screen. It doesn't really matter where, but I want to make sure it's probably somewhere next to where it's going to end up. And so I'm going to just click right here, and I'm going to make a 3 millimeter diameter circle. So I'll type in a 3 and hit enter. And then finally, the last step before I extrude this hole is I'm going to click the dimension tool, and I'm going to click on the center of the circle and then the top here, and I can go ahead and type in a 4. And then for the other direction, I'm going to click on the center of my circle, and then the very, very front of the part right here. And then this dimension is going to be 11. Once I have those dimensions in here, I'm going to go ahead and hit Finish Sketch. I will click Extrude, and then I need to cut this time. And so there's a couple ways to do this, but my favorite one when I'm cutting all the way through something is to go to this button that highlights and says Through All, and if I press on that, it should start to cut, but for some reason it's not doing that. So I can also go over to the little output symbol and click on Cut, and then it should hopefully start to understand. And from what I see right here, it did start to cut. So I'm going to click OK, click on Home, and I'm ready to save. When we save, we're going to go ahead and go to File, Save As. I like to go down here and click on this PC and then my student ID number. And then from there, I can either go to my engineering folder, or if you don't have an engineering folder, you can still save right here. And all you need to do is type in the name of this part. We can go ahead and call this part 3D printed phone stand. And then my last name, so my last name is Eggers, and my class period. So you're going to put your period number, and I'm just going to put a number symbol in there for right now since I have lots of different class periods. So I'll go ahead and hit save, and then finally all we need to do is go to our Schoology account. And when I'm in Schoology, after I get done with the instructions, I will go ahead and go back to here, go to the turn-in page, and then I can't see this as your teacher, but there's going to be a spot here where you're going to click on Add, and then you're going to turn in this part. Once you have completed this, we are going to start to learn how to use the 3D printers and 3D print these pieces for our project. But for right now, you are done and you are ready to move on to your next 3D model in Inventor.